learning to navigate your 3D hallucination. Hi, I am your host, Guy Cheyenne, and welcome back once again to Rebuild Reality, where as always, we talk about who we really are, why we're here, and how all of this stuff works. So in our last video, and if you haven't seen it already, you really need to go and take a look, because we basically established scientifically how it is that your mind is literally creating the hallucination that you are living in right now, every moment of every day. And knowing that, well, probably doesn't get any bigger than that, does it? It's like, yes, all the stories about, you're creating your reality, you're living in the dream, the illusion, Maya, all of these things. Well, now we understand why those things are true. Because you can say things, but if we don't know why and how can we ever really accept them? So when we see it on a scientific level, then we're like, okay, it's more easy for the mind to accept it, because the mind dwells here, our egoic mind dwells here in this reality. So basically what happens is that your mind conjures up whenever, let's say you're going to go into a room, it predicts what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to sound like, and then it projects it to you, presents it to you as the reality that it's supposed to be, when, yeah, that isn't happening. That's not actually not true at all. So it's creating that on the spot and telling you what's real. And this is the thing, is we've assumed that our senses, our entire lives, are telling us the truth of reality when they're not even a tiny bit. So basically we are in this kind of enclosed hallucination, right? But all of reality is right here, right now, literally so close that it's pressing up against you. But our mind is filtering it out by our belief system. So our belief system is the filter that takes all possibilities, all realities, all potential, and just goes, I just take that tiny little bit and let that through the filter. Everything else I'm gonna keep out, because if it doesn't fit, doesn't match our belief system, our story about ourselves, our past, our life, it's not gonna let it in. Now, science calls it light waves, changes in pressure, chemical signals that basically all translate into like millions of electrical impulses that our brain reads like computer codes. So that's how that's kind of functioning on that level. Our brain is interpreting and reading all this stuff, so it's all there. Like I've said before, our subconscious mind is processing 400 billion bits of information per second, but it's only the conscious mind is only basically accepting 100 bits of information per second, which compared to 400 billion is pretty much nothing. That's why we don't perceive reality as it is, right? And we're all doing it all the time. We're all creating this hallucination. So, those senses are not telling us the truth of reality one little bit. Which is kind of amazing. So if we understand that, then we begin to kind of break down what's going on here. We begin to disassemble our reality, our own matrix, by understanding these things. So one of the ways of doing that is by our past. We have the story of our past, the way that we think it's come about. And when we're like, hold on a second, if there's no time, then how can there be a past? But our mind constantly presents that story to us, right? So if you start paying attention to what your mind is thinking about all day long, because that's the biggest thing. I think that is the biggest thing. You can sit there and you can do affirmations, and you can spend time. You can even spend hours doing this or that, to try and rewire yourself. And that's great. I think that's really important too. But nothing is as big as that self-talk we got going on all day long. Because that's almost 24/7, right? Unless you're asleep, when your mind is actually still active even then. Well, that's creating your reality, because what happens is that voice that you hear in your head all day long that's talking to you, that you think is you, that is your ego. That is your ego. And it wants you to believe the story it tells you, which is all about your trauma, all about, the terrible things that have happened to you, all about why you can't do this, all about why you're not good enough, all the reasons you're losing, or all the reasons you need to try harder, or you need to struggle, you need to do it again, you need to push, push, push. It's like this total slave driver. It not only breaks you down, puts you down more than anybody else probably out there ever does, but it also constantly has that little carrot in front of you. Oh, if you just do this, if you just do all these things, if you just suffer, push, 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 wipe yourself out, then you're going to get what you want in the future. But of course, there is no future point. So that's where it kind of has us there, right? So, yes, that little voice, no. We have to start challenging it. You have to start paying attention. Okay, it's telling me that thing again. And realize it and recognize it. Like, hold on. You're chatting shit to me. You are telling me like all this stuff that I'm like, no, that's not me anymore. That's not my story anymore. I'm not going to accept it. I don't care if it's my entire freaking life. If I want to go that far, then I'll go that far. Now, I'll do that kind of stuff. I will completely rewrite my entire life and get rid of the old one, take on a new name, take on a new persona, whatever it is. So this can be from everything from the little stuff to a complete rewrite of who you are. And this happens because what is the subconscious, right? On one hand, I don't like to kind of separate things because there is no separation. But if we're kind of looking at it from the perspective that we need to have in order to understand it, in order to learn how this thing works, well, we've got our conscious mind and we've got the subconscious mind, right? But that's the one running the show. But it's not like an opponent. So in so much of these things, we're like, I'm going to demand my new reality, right? It's not like we need to, be pushing and shoving. We're not at war. We're not at war with anything. All it is it's simply like a computer program. It's just a program that's just giving you what you've put into it. All your beliefs, all your assumptions, all these years, it's just filled with that stuff. So if you want to change it, all it takes is being like, when that story comes up again, the mind, that voice in your head is like, nah. Oh, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should do that. And you're not going to get this, and blah, 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 whatever shit it's chatting to you. It's like, no, I'm not going to accept that. That's not my reality anymore. No. Just that. Like, no. Just a very firm no. And every time it comes up, no. Comes up again, no. And like I've said before, this takes like somewhere between, I would say, if you dedicate yourself for the next 3 weeks to doing this, it will change. Your reality will change. If you start catching that, whatever it is, you can try. I would suggest trying not a complete life rewrite at first. That's a bit more advanced, make sure that you are kind of hooked into this to begin with, by trying one thing at a time. So take one thing and work on that. Right? Because there's a couple ways of doing this. One, obviously, when we believe something, like we believe we have a past, right? We believe it. Oh God, well, of course I have a past. You've come to believe you have a past when there is no time. There is no past. What's happening is every time you think about it, you think you're just thinking of a memory, and that's not a problem, but you're not. You're creating it literally in that moment. That's how powerful your mind is. And that's really big, because everyone, pretty much everyone, has got a big story about their past that they need to heal, that they are traumatized from, that they need to repair themselves, that they're broken. No past. That's literally another story the ego mind is making up that it wants you to believe in. It wants you to basically believe that you're a victim, right? Because it thinks it's a victim. It doesn't know who it is, doesn't know where it comes from, doesn't know why it's here, but it's taken on this identity, convincing you that it's you. But it's just this, I think of it as like a GPS system that was just supposed to direct you in certain directions, turn left here, make sure and pick up, some baby food, or that you need petrol you need gas in the gas tank or something like that. And that's it. It wasn't supposed to take over your entire life and tell you everything. It was just meant for some things. It was meant to be your servant, not your master. But right now what happens is it's got us convinced of all these stories. And that's why we got to pull the plug and start taking control. When it's starting to chat, it's like, no, we're doing this. No, that's not true for me. No, I'm perfect. I don't have that problem. That's not an issue for me anymore. And now your subconscious it's still running the program, but you start doing that, and you start doing that enough for long enough, boom, gone. Whatever it is. So it's like a big thing. So if we're like, okay, there's no past, means that, no time, no past, means that nothing to repair ourselves from, accepting that we are whole, complete right now. And this is what all healing actually really is. It's not that, I finally got there. I finally got to the healing point. I finally got to the place where I'm healed at some future point, because there is no future point. There's only right here and right now, and there only ever will be. So that's why you can't get to the mind telling you, you'll get healed at a future point if you do this and this, you take all these things and do all this stuff, then you'll be healed. But it's always putting everything you might want to notice in the future. You'll get it in the future. That's its kind of little trick. And we're constantly like chasing that little carrot, aren't we? So no, no, it happens now, or it doesn't happen at all. So, and everything is here right now. Like I was saying, we've got this belief system that is cutting off everything that's here right now. Like the saying goes, closer than hand and foot, right? So it's all there. It's only when we change our beliefs that we cleanse that lens. And by believing in it, we allow it into our life right then and there, in that very moment. So kind of switching things up here, so nothing left to heal from, which is pretty freaking awesome. Now, a lot of people, a lot of us have a hard time letting go of that story because we want justice. Freaking, are you kidding me? I need justice for all that stuff that happened to me. Justice from those people. I need those people to understand. I need them to apologize. I need them to, fall on their knees before me. I need them to go to jail, whatever it is. We want life and people and all these things to finally admit to us that they messed us up, they screwed us over. But that's kind of really a trap. It's really a trap that keeps us locked in that hamster wheel of that experience. That's why forgiveness is such a big thing. That's why forgiveness is taught in so many spiritual things. They're like, no, you're setting yourself free from that never-ending story. When you don't belong in that trauma, you don't belong in that dream, you don't belong in that hallucination. Because you got to remember, it's as difficult as that is. And trust me, I know. I got a lot of stuff that I'm like, I want an apology for, I want someone to see it, to get it, right? But I had to let it go because otherwise I was destroying myself. And I'm not going to do that. I won't let anything do that ever. This is my world, and you understand that this is your kingdom, and you become really strong about that. It's not in a horrible way. It's just like every thought, everything that comes into my hallucination, this is my story, my hallucination. So I'm going to say, yes, no, more of that. No, I'm not accepting that. No, you become like vigilant. This is where our strength comes from. Boy, you get like, this is my, this is my hallucination. So no need to please anybody else, is there? Which is pretty freaking cool, right? So we don't have any consequences that we have to heal from the past. If we got no past, if we let ourselves go, if we free ourselves by forgiveness. And I know, like I said, that's a tough thing, but we really got to get to that place where we could finally be good to ourselves by stop putting ourselves through hell every day. That's what really being a good parent to yourself is, by not allowing your mind to traumatize you anymore. Things have already happened. They're gone. It's gone. It's just a story. So your mind is coming up with these stories. It's a story to begin with. And when we accept that we're in a hallucination and that the only time is right here and now, and then what the mind is presenting to us as the story of our past is just one of infinite potential, that it's going, I'll take that story and give it to you. Hey, you, that's your past. And we're like, oh my God. It's not at all. It's not at all. You deserve a better story than that. So give it to yourself. Literally rewrite your whole past if you want. Why not? I mean, like, really, why wouldn't we, right? Because we don't want to keep living our life in this hamster wheel of cause and effect. Something happened, right? So that's another big thing, is we think that there's consequences because we believe in the past. We're like, oh, well, that's why I am the way I am today. This is why my life is the way it is today. This is why the world is the way it is today, because of the past. So there is no actual consequences, and we're always worried about consequences, right? What if I get into this relationship and this happens? Oh my God, these are consequences that happened from my childhood. I'm the way I am now because of my childhood in the past. I'm the way that I am now, or I'm about to be the way I am now, because of the tub of ice cream I ate last night in the past. This is why people like Abdullah understood that nothing he ate was ever going to hurt him, because it's just, well, it's a hallucination. It's all just this one, you can call it energy, you can call it potential, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It's all exactly the same thing. How can the thing that makes up my body, that makes up my experience, that makes up absolutely everything, from my pen to my hairbrush, to my earrings and my food, hurt me? How can a disease, of course, how can a virus, how can a bacteria, how can some facial cream, how can some kind of food, whatever it is, how can it hurt me if it's all, one, made out of the same thing, and two, an illusion to begin with? So this is where we want to get to, that place where we fully step back and we're like, no, hold on a moment. I'm not in it, like being run by it, because I'm like, oh my God, it's real. I pull myself back. I pull myself back by being like, hold on a moment. I'm going to remember that this is a hallucination. I'm going to remember that I have the ability to create my own reality. I can say yes to that, or I can say no. No, I'm not going to accept that. That's not what I'm going to have. I'm going to have this. And I'm going to keep saying this, until this shows up. So, and you may want to write this stuff down. 1, remind yourself all day long, This is a hallucination. 2, you're safe. Remind yourself that you are safe. And that's big. That is big. I think ahead of wanting love, ahead of wanting money, ahead of wanting anything. And the reason we want those things to begin with is because we want to feel safe. We want to feel protected. We want to be able to finally relax, be ourselves. But remember, it's a hallucination, so you are safe, right? 3, be ready to replace that mind's story that it's going to chat to you all day long. Be ready with your new story or your new belief. Like, nope, that's not it. Nope, 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 nope. You're going to start to see it, and you'll realize, oh my God, there was a number of times when I let that kind of like I started going down that rabbit hole, and next thing you know, you are fucked. You're like, because that belief grabbed onto you and took you down with it. So it's like right away I start noticing, I'm like, no, as soon as that thing comes up, oh yeah, you're probably gonna really suffer from eating that or whatever it is. I'm like, no, actually I'm not. Thank you very much. So be ready with the new story to replace the old one. Next, no healing. No healing needed. No past. Nothing to heal from. You've always been perfect, and you always will be. You're just a copy machine. So just be careful where you point that thing. Because wherever you point that thing, belief-wise, focus-wise, you just get more of it. That's just how it's set up. And I want to close this by reading a couple of things that I thought were great from Scripture and a few other things that kind of drive some of these points home, right? So in Matthew 11:23 through 11:25 from Scripture, I wanted to read this. Truly, I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Now we're finding out why this stuff is actually true to begin with, right? And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive your sins. In other words, forgive others for being off the mark. That's what being a sin is. And you'll be forgiven for when you've been off the mark, right? But others, of course, are you. So forgiving them is releasing yourself, right? You're only correcting your outer 3D reality by clearing away these negative emotions, and experiences and pictures, right? Now, Neville Goddard, the best denial is total indifference. Things wither and die through indifference. They are kept alive through intention and attention. Ignore it. Not mine. Not my problem anymore. Not my problem anymore. Doesn't belong to me. You disown it. You disown it. No, not mine. Not in my world. I know it's still there, but I'm just like, don't care. Now Shakespeare, quite an interesting story that some of you may know behind him, but I was always like, why is this guy so hooked in? Well, now I know, right? We'll save that for another day. But anyway, so Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man is in his time plays many parts. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, that are dreamt of in your philosophy. More things in heaven and earth, indeed, as we were finding out. He also said, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage of life, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That's what our lives are. We're creating all this, and when it's just a hallucination. And, of course, this one says it all. Shakespeare said, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so," as we have now come to understand. So take that information and run with it. You want to change, you can stay in the story. You can stay in the old story. You can stay in the matrix of this whole thing if you want to. That's a choice everyone can make. But if you want to get out, this is what I'm about. This is what this channel is about. This is about getting you out of there, about ending your pain and suffering by being willing to let go of those stories of our past. And a lot of people, they don't want to let go. I can't tell you, I've a lot of, especially like friends of mine, that I've been like, look, here it is. People who've got diseases, who've got issues and all kinds of stuff going on, extreme poverty. And I'm like, look, this is the way out. They don't want to know. So that's okay. Maybe they'll learn it later in this lifetime. Maybe they'll learn it 1,000 lifetime experiences, hallucinations from now. And I honor that, and that's okay. But if you want out, then do it. Do what it takes. Write this stuff down. Do the process. Be ready to dedicate yourself to it for at least the next 3 weeks. In my experience, it happens somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks when I'm like, nope, no, this is my reality now. No, I don't accept it. No, I don't accept that I've got a problem with that. No, I don't accept that that's an issue for me. No, I don't accept that this person is treating me that way. No, this is my reality now. I have this. Works. All I know is it's a tried and true method that I use all the time. And now that you know that you're in a hallucination, which lessens the bonds of all this, you can do this too. So I hope that has helped. I, of course, am your host, Sky Cheyenne. Thank you for being with me here once again on Rebuild Reality. If you like this video, if you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you would consider subscribing, if you're enjoying this as well, go ahead and do that. And as always, it's appreciated in that story because it's one of the stories of many stories I've got going right now. And I'm enjoying it because it's nice to be here with you guys. So thank you for liking, subscribing, for sharing, for commenting. Gorgeous comments. And I'm going to see you here next time on Rebuild Reality.